Earth's ancient cataclysms. What left no trace? There are scars on this planet older than memory, yet most of them are gone. The surface beneath our feet is a palimpsest, a canvas rewritten by fire, water, and time. What if the story of Earth is not one of continuity but of amnesia? A planet that has lived countless lives only to erase them all. Entire continents have vanished, oceans have boiled, the sky itself has collapsed and been reborn. And still, the Earth turns, carrying within its depths the ghosts of worlds that no longer exist. We walk upon a survivor. But of what? What forces could destroy so completely that even their own evidence disappeared? Science tells us that traces of our planet's earliest history, its first atmosphere, its first oceans, even its first crust, have been devoured, subducted into the deep mantle where time forgets everything. We call it geology. But what if it's something more? What if the planet's constant destruction and renewal aren't random, but part of an ancient pattern, a rhythm as old as creation itself? Our world has been remade many times over. Cataclysms so immense that they reset the biosphere, the climate, and the continents. The irony is that most of these events left little behind. Volcanic hells that burned for millions of years, followed by ice ages that sealed the planet beneath frozen oceans. Asteroids that struck with the force of worlds, vaporizing every clue of their arrival. To study Earth is to chase ghosts through layers of stone that no longer belong to the same story. What if we are not the first civilization to wonder how it all began, or how it will end? Not human civilizations, but planetary ones, epochs of stability and collapse, cycles of birth and annihilation that stretch beyond imagination. Each time, life finds a way back. But what if there were events so absolute, so total, that they left no survivors to rebuild? What if the greatest catastrophes were the ones that erased even the memory of themselves? To understand this, we must see Earth as it truly is, not a solid world, but a system of constant transformation. Beneath the continents, plates move like slow, grinding clockwork. Mountains rise and crumble, oceans open and close. Entire surfaces are swallowed into the mantle, only to reappear as volcanic arcs thousands of kilometers away. Every rock beneath us is recycled stardust, once part of an ocean, later part of a mountain, now part of a plain. Yet even this endless renewal comes at a cost. Every time Earth renews itself, it forgets. Each cycle buries the evidence of the one before it. The first billion years of our planet's existence are almost entirely missing, obliterated by heat, impact, and chemical chaos. The record of our origin, erased before it could be written. That loss is more than geological, it's existential. It means we may never truly know where we came from or what we've already survived. But in every mystery, there is a clue. Ancient zircons found in Australia hold isotopic memories of oceans that vanished before any known life existed. Deep in the seabed, magnetic anomalies tell of continents that rose and sank before our own. The planet forgets, but it does not lie. Its secrets are hidden, not lost. We just haven't yet learned how to listen to its language, the language of time, pressure, and silence. Perhaps the most unsettling truth is that these forgotten cataclysms are not confined to the past. The same forces that erased entire epochs are still alive beneath our feet. Tectonic tension, volcanic heat, cosmic debris, any one of them could begin the cycle again. The difference now is that for the first time in history, there is a species capable of witnessing it. Every civilization believes its world will last, but the planet knows better. It has ended before, and it will end again. The question is not if, but when. Because somewhere beneath the crust, deep within the mantle's restless heart, the next chapter of destruction is already beginning to write itself. Before we go further, take a moment to realize this. Most of Earth's story is still missing, and yet, here you are, one of the few still listening to what the planet tries to remember. If you want to keep uncovering what time tried to erase, subscribe, stay until the end, and help this story reach others who still believe the Earth is alive and still speaking. The planet that devoured its past. The ground beneath your feet is far younger than you think. Every continent, every mountain range, every grain of sand has been replaced countless times. The Earth, for all its seeming permanence, is a self-erasing canvas. Unlike the Moon or Mars, planets that keep their ancient scars, our world consumes its own history. It is both the author and the destroyer of its past. To understand how a planet can forget, we have to look inside it. Deep beneath the crust, the mantle churns in slow motion. Solid rock flows like thick honey under immense pressure and heat, dragging entire continents across the surface. Where plates collide, one is forced beneath another in a process known as subduction, a quiet annihilation that erases oceans and mountains alike. The crust that vanishes there melts, mixes, and reemerges somewhere else as volcanic fire. It's a perfect cycle of renewal and obliteration. This is why we find no trace of Earth's infancy. The first crust, the first mountains, even the first ocean floor have all been recycled into magma. The surface we stand on is only a few 100 million years old, a thin, temporary skin stretched across a 4.5 billion year body. Imagine a library that rewrites its books every time you turn the page. That is our planet. The deeper you dig, the more the story disappears. Some scientists call this the tectonic amnesia. It's not just a process, it's a personality. Earth heals by forgetting. The violence of subduction is not destruction for its own sake. It's a function of balance. Without it, heat would build inside the planet until the crust shattered completely. Instead, Earth vents its fury in a controlled cycle of consumption and creation. The planet devours itself to survive, but that survival comes at a cost. Entire epochs vanish into the mantle. The evidence of early atmospheres, ancient oceans, and the first stirrings of life have been swallowed whole. The oldest rocks we've ever found, 4 billion-year-old fragments of crust in Canada and Australia, are like burned edges of a book that once told a far greater story. They whisper of an era when the planet's surface was unstable, when continents drifted like ash over a molten sea. The Earth we know is just the latest version of itself. And yet, even in its destruction, the planet leaves clues. Traces of vanished oceans linger in minerals that once crystallized beneath them. Isotopic ratios within ancient zircons record cycles of weathering and burial, hinting that water, and maybe even continents, existed far earlier than the rocks that survived. These relics are the planet's subconscious, fragments of memories it could not fully erase. The oldest of them suggest that by 4.3 billion years ago, Earth may already have had liquid water and a thin crust, conditions suitable for life. But then something happened. A global reset. Asteroid impacts, volcanic storms, or a mantle overturn erase the surface, leaving almost nothing. Scientists call this lost era the Hadean Eon, from the word Hades, the underworld, because its record lies buried in the planet's infernal depths. It's as if Earth lived a lifetime before the one we can measure. A world of unknown oceans, unrecorded atmospheres, and possibly even the earliest forms of life, all consumed and rewritten. The rocks that might have told that story are gone, melted into the mantle, transformed into new worlds above. This cycle continues today. Beneath the Pacific Ocean, a vast plate the size of a continent is slowly sinking into the deep mantle, carrying with it sediments, fossils, and the remains of entire seafloor ecosystems. In tens of millions of years, every trace of today's ocean floor will be gone. Future geologists, if they exist, will never know this world as it was. The Earth's surface is, in truth, an illusion of stability. Mountains rise and fall, oceans appear and vanish, climates shift like breaths. The permanence we believe in is merely a snapshot between erasures. The continents we live on are temporary survivors, drifting on a sea of molten forgetfulness. But here lies the paradox. Without destruction, there would be no life. The same geological forces that erase history also create the conditions for renewal. Subduction builds mountains, forms volcanoes, releases carbon dioxide, and fuels the planet's long-term climate balance. The cycle that devours the old world also gives birth to the new. Perhaps this is the secret of our planet, that its power lies not in preservation, but in reinvention. Earth endures because it refuses to stay the same. Its memory fades, but its vitality persists. Every extinction, every transformation, every swallowed continent becomes the foundation for the next chapter. We are living on the latest page of an ancient story, unaware of how many times it has been rewritten. The survivors of erasure, life before memory. If the Earth forgets, then life is its memory. It clings to existence through every firestorm, every flood, every silence. But what happens when the planet's surface is wiped clean, when oceans boil, continents melt, and skies collapse? How can life survive what even stone cannot? The answer lies in a world older than fossils, older than air itself, a hidden biosphere that endured through the planet's deepest cataclysms, leaving almost no trace except the faintest chemical whisper. Before animals, before plants, before even cells as we know them, there was another Earth, an alien version of our world. The air was thick with carbon dioxide, methane, and sulfur. The oceans were black, acidic, and filled with iron. Lightning danced across clouds of volcanic ash. And somewhere in that chaos, life emerged. Not as complex organisms, but as microscopic chemists, tiny molecular survivors that would shape everything to come. Scientists have found their fingerprints in the oldest minerals on Earth. In ancient zircon crystals more than 4 billion years old, traces of carbon isotopes suggest that something alive was already transforming the planet's chemistry long before the crust had settled. These were not cells as we understand them, but primitive systems. Self-replicating molecules born in hydrothermal vents, thriving in the darkness beneath the sea. The deep ocean became the refuge of life's first experiment. These ancient organisms were the first to learn resilience. When meteorites rained fire across the surface, they hid in the cracks of the ocean floor. When volcanoes turned the sky to acid, they burrowed deeper into the crust. When the planet froze under global glaciations, they slept in geothermal oases, warmed by the same heat that nearly destroyed the world. Life, it seems, evolved in partnership with catastrophe. Even as continents vanished into the mantle, some of these microbes were carried with them, trapped inside rocks, surviving pressures and temperatures thought impossible. In modern subduction zones, we've discovered living microorganisms several kilometers beneath the surface, within rocks heated to hundreds of degrees. They metabolize hydrogen, sulfur, and iron, not sunlight. For them, destruction is just another environment to adapt to. This endurance reveals a truth that geology alone cannot explain, that life is the planet's constant, its unbroken thread through every age of erasure. The crust may change, oceans may vanish, but life always finds a place to begin again. It is both witness and participant in Earth's endless transformation. Some scientists now suspect that this hidden lineage, the microbial world, has survived unbroken since the earliest days of the planet. Fossilized stromatolites, layered structures built by ancient bacteria, date back 3.5 billion years. They record a world recovering from planetary annihilation. Each layer, formed by microscopic colonies, is a story of persistence written in stone. Through their photosynthesis, they released oxygen into an atmosphere that had never known it before, triggering one of the greatest environmental shifts in Earth's history. The irony is that this oxygen revolution was itself a catastrophe. For most ancient life, oxygen was poison. It destroyed their chemical balance, forcing them to retreat underground or to the depths of the ocean, where they remain today. Once again, life adapted through loss. Each new beginning was born from extinction. When scientists examine DNA from modern extremophils, organisms that thrive in boiling springs, deep-sea vents, and acidic lakes, they find echoes of these ancient survivors. Their biochemistry still carries the memory of the planet's earliest eras, long before complex life arose. They are living fossils, proof that life doesn't just endure destruction, it depends on it. This may explain why every mass extinction has been followed by an explosion of diversity. After the Permian, the Cretaceous, the Ice Ages, each time the planet reset, life rebuilt itself stronger, faster, and more complex. Destruction creates opportunity. From microbial resilience came evolution itself. The story of life before memory isn't one of fragility, it's one of triumph. Against volcanic fire and cosmic bombardment, against oceans that froze and skies that burned, the earliest life forms endured. They outlived continents, they survived extinctions, and they seeded the world we now inherit. We owe our existence to organisms that never saw the sun. The ancestors of everything that breathes and thinks were forged in the crucible of catastrophe. They taught the planet how to begin again. Perhaps that's the real secret of Earth's forgotten epics, that no matter how many times the world is erased, the spark of life hides just deep enough to outlast oblivion. The planet forgets, but life remembers. The forces that erase, when fire and ice share a secret. There are two forces that have shaped the planet more than any others: fire and ice. They are opposites in every sense. One burns, the other freezes. One creates, the other preserves. Yet throughout Earth's history, they have worked together, alternately destroying and restoring, erasing and remaking the surface of the world. Their struggle is not a battle, but a balance, one that has determined the fate of every continent, every ocean, and every living thing. When Earth's internal heat rises unchecked, fire becomes the sculptor of catastrophe. From the depths of the mantle, molten rock bursts through the crust in vast eruptions that can last for millions of years. These are not the volcanoes we know, the ones that decorate mountain chains or islands. These are large igneous provinces, planetary-scale wounds. When they erupt, they flood continents with lava, releasing carbon dioxide and sulfur into the air, turning the sky into a mirror of ash. The most infamous of these events, the Siberian Traps, erupted 252 million years ago, marking the end of the Permian period. For hundreds of thousands of years, the Earth burned. Oceans turned acidic, forests vanished, and 90% of all species disappeared. Yet even that was not the first time fire nearly ended everything. Similar scars exist across the globe: the Deccan Traps in India, the Ontong Java Plateau beneath the Pacific, remnants of eruptions so vast that they reshaped the planet's climate, atmosphere, and biology. But destruction rarely travels alone. When fire has run its course, ice follows. In the aftermath of massive eruptions, as volcanic gases strip away warmth or block sunlight, the planet plunges into deep freeze. During the Cryogenian period, roughly 700 million years ago, Earth became a mirror of white. Entire oceans sealed beneath kilometers of ice, continents locked in glaciers that reached the equator. For millions of years, the world was silent. And yet, paradoxically, it was in these frozen eons that life may have found its endurance. Beneath the ice, in thin layers of liquid water warmed by geothermal heat, microbial colonies persisted, protected from ultraviolet radiation and temperature extremes. When the ice eventually melted, they emerged into a transformed world, ready to expand and evolve. Ice, it seems, was both executioner and guardian. Scientists now suspect that the interplay between fire and ice is not coincidence but consequence. The same mantle plumes that trigger supervolcanoes also drive carbon cycles that regulate climate. Eruptions release greenhouse gases, heating the planet, until chemical weathering and ocean absorption draw down carbon dioxide, triggering global cooling. Then, as ice spreads and locks away carbon, volcanic activity rises again, shattering the frozen calm. This oscillation may be Earth's way of maintaining balance, a planetary heartbeat measured in millions of years. Fire and ice, then, are not enemies but partners in an ancient dance. Each ends the dominance of the other, only to restore it later. Without their alternation, Earth might have followed the path of Venus, locked in perpetual fire, or Mars, frozen forever in silence. Instead, our planet moves between extremes, and within those extremes life adapts, evolves, and begins anew. The evidence of their collaboration lies in every layer of rock. Volcanic ash trapped in glacial sediments, glacial scratches cut across ancient lava flows, signatures of destruction meeting survival. Together, they have rewritten the surface again and again, erasing civilizations of stone long before any human ever stood to witness them. And what of us now? The same cycle continues, unseen beneath the stability we believe we inhabit. The planet's core still burns. Ice still gathers in the shadows of mountains and poles. Somewhere beneath our feet, the next great eruption is building pressure. Somewhere far in the future, the next glaciation is already beginning. Earth's memory of balance remains intact, even if we've forgotten the cost. This duality, creation through destruction, death through renewal, is not just the story of geology, it is the story of existence. Fire cleanses what ice preserves. Ice humbles what fire creates. Both are necessary, both inevitable. So when we speak of cataclysms that left no trace, we must remember that the planet itself is not the victim of these forces, it is their expression. Earth does not fear fire or ice, it is fire and ice, breathing in cycles of chaos and calm. Each time the planet has died, it has done so to survive. Each age of flame or frost has been a chapter, not an ending. And we, fragile as we are, live only because the last cycle ended in balance, leaving a narrow window for warmth, oceans, and thought. Perhaps this is what the Earth has always known, that in the war between extremes, there are no winners. There is only transformation. The strangers from the void, impacts that never happened. Throughout history, the Earth has been struck from above. The craters that dot its surface are the fingerprints of cosmic violence, the remnants of ancient collisions with worlds that never formed, comets that wandered too close, and asteroids that fell like burning gods. But for every crater we can see, there are others we can't. Some have been buried, melted, or erased entirely. There are impacts that changed the course of the planet's evolution and left no trace. Scientists once believed that most of these collisions happened early in the planet's history during the chaotic formation of the solar system. Back then, Earth was a target in a cosmic shooting gallery. But evidence suggests that catastrophic impacts have occurred far more recently and far more often than we imagined. In places where no crater remains, chemical signatures tell another story. Layers rich in iridium, a rare metal common in asteroids, appear in sediments across the world, marking the moments when the heavens struck the Earth. The most famous of these is the Chicxulub impact, 66 million years ago, which ended the age of dinosaurs. It left a crater over 150 kilometers wide beneath the Yucatan Peninsula. But what if other impacts, equally massive, left no mark at all? Geological evidence hints that they might have. In multiple epochs, layers of shocked quartz and isotope anomalies appear without any known crater nearby. The destruction is there, but the wound is missing. How could a planetary-scale collision simply vanish? The answer lies in the very nature of Earth's restlessness. Our planet heals its scars. Tectonic motion, erosion, volcanic resurfacing, and oceanic turnover can erase even the most violent events. Some craters are subducted into the mantle, consumed like the rest of the crust. Others strike the ocean, where water vaporizes on impact and molten rock sinks, leaving behind little more than a chemical echo. On a world that constantly rebuilds itself, the memory of catastrophe is always temporary. Consider the possibility that there have been impacts greater than Chicxulub, collisions large enough to alter the planet's rotation or tilt, but so long ago that the crust has since reformed over the evidence. Some scientists suspect that the planet's unusual core structure may hold the remnants of such an event. A massive impact early in Earth's history may have seeded the iron core with extra material, perhaps even influencing the formation of the moon. Others suggest that smaller, more recent impacts may have triggered mantle plumes, igniting volcanic eruptions that reshape the surface. But there is a deeper, more haunting question. What if some of these impacts came not from within our solar system, but from beyond it? Interstellar asteroids like Oumuamua have already proven that objects from other star systems can drift through ours. If one of them had struck Earth in deep time, dense, fast, alien in composition, it could have vaporized upon entry, leaving nothing but a chemical shadow in the rock. Such an event might explain some of the planet's most abrupt evolutionary resets. We call them extinctions, but perhaps they were more than that. Each impact changes the climate, stirs the oceans, and alters the composition of the atmosphere. Each is both an ending and a beginning. The dinosaurs' extinction cleared the path for mammals. Earlier impacts may have created the conditions for multicellular life itself. Catastrophe has always been the universe's most efficient form of innovation. Yet, the idea of impacts that never happened carries a philosophical weight. Because they did happen, only time erased them. The surface forgot, but the mantle remembers. In seismic waves and magnetic anomalies, geologists find whispers of past collisions buried beneath the crust. Like ghosts pressing against the surface of time, they remind us that the Earth's serenity is an illusion maintained by motion. Perhaps the greatest cosmic trick is not destruction, but disappearance. The universe hides its violence well. For every meteor that scorches the sky, countless others have fallen into the oceans unseen, dissolving into history. For every crater we find, there may be dozens lost to the churn of the planet. And so we must look deeper, not for the scars, but for their absence. Each layer of sediment, each isotopic anomaly, each strange mineral pattern could be the last surviving word of an event that rewrote the world. What makes this realization so haunting is not the scale of destruction, but its silence. The idea that entire global cataclysms could unfold, reshape the planet, and leave behind no trace at all is both terrifying and beautiful. It means that the Earth, like life itself, is capable of forgetting even its most violent lessons. The strangers from the void have come and gone. Their signatures are gone, their craters erased, their stories dissolved into the shifting crust. But the consequences remain in the tilt of the planet, the chemistry of the oceans, and the fragile equilibrium that allowed us to exist. Every breath we take is a product of those forgotten collisions. The universe writes its history not in words or scars, but in balance. The lost ages of time, when history loops and vanishes. If space can be rewritten, perhaps time can too. Every civilization measures time as a straight line, past, present, future. But Earth doesn't follow that logic. The deeper we study its history, the more it appears that time on this planet bends, folds, and sometimes disappears entirely. Whole ages are missing from the geological record. It's as if history itself has been edited, and the author was the planet. Scientists call one of these disappearances the Great Unconformity, a staggering gap in Earth's timeline, where up to 1 billion years of history simply vanishes between layers of rock. Beneath that boundary lie ancient crystalline foundations. Above it, the first traces of complex life. Everything between them, oceans, continents, atmospheres, even the earliest ecosystems, has been erased. It is not erosion in the ordinary sense. It is something deeper, something almost deliberate. How does an entire era vanish from time? The answer might lie in cycles so vast they defy human comprehension. The crust of the planet is like a skin that sheds itself every few 100 million years. As continents merge into supercontinents, collide, and break apart, their geological memory is overwritten. Mountain ranges rise and erode. Ocean floors are created and swallowed. What looks to us like a gap in the rock may actually be a reset in time, a moment when the old Earth was replaced by the new. But even that does not explain everything. Around the world, we find isotopic signatures that suggest strange fluctuations in Earth's chemistry during these missing ages. Some indicate periods of global ice, others of fire and volcanic chaos, yet the physical evidence is gone. These clues hint at cycles of catastrophe so complete they not only destroyed life but altered the flow of time as recorded in stone. Imagine time as sediment, a slow accumulation of memory, layer upon layer. Then imagine a force powerful enough to lift, fold, and wash it all away. That is what the planet has done again and again. It doesn't erase with intent. It erases by being alive. In its motion, time itself becomes fluid, compressed in some places and stretched in others. 1 billion years may vanish in a thin line of quartz. A single storm may leave a layer that lasts forever. And there's something even stranger. Some regions of Earth preserve time differently. Deep beneath cratons, the most ancient, stable cores of continents, Scientists have found rocks that appear billions of years older than those around them, as if certain parts of the planet refuse to move forward. They carry isotopic signatures of conditions that no longer exist, like fossilized versions of time itself. In these rare pockets, the arrow of history seems to have slowed or paused while the rest of the world moved on. Could time, then, be as dynamic as space, shaped and stretched by the forces that drive the planet? If Einstein showed us that gravity can warp space-time, perhaps Earth's own cycles do something similar on a smaller geological scale. Under immense pressure and heat, even the atomic structure of minerals changes, resetting radioactive clocks that scientists use to date rocks. What appears as missing time might be the planet's own version of relativity, eras that happened, but whose clocks were wiped clean. Philosophers once said that time is the soul of the universe. If so, then Earth's soul has been reincarnated countless times. Each geological age is not merely a sequel, but a rebirth. Its memories reduced to fragments, its stories compressed into the language of minerals and isotopes. When you hold a rock in your hand, you are holding something that has experienced billions of years, but remembers only moments. The most haunting truth is that these lost ages may hold the key to everything we don't yet understand. They may conceal the origins of plate tectonics, of the atmosphere, of life itself, but we will never read those chapters. They are gone. Not because they were never written, but because the book was rewritten over them. And yet, even absence can speak. The silence between rock layers, the abrupt boundaries between one world and the next, tell us that time itself is cyclical. What disappears will return. What ends will begin again. The missing billion years are not lost. They are waiting, embedded in the Earth's memory, hidden beneath our certainty that history moves in one direction. Perhaps the real illusion is not that time passes, but that it ever stood still at all. The memory of stone, when Earth tried to remember. Every act of forgetting leaves behind a trace. Even when the planet erases itself, fragments of its memory survive, buried in minerals, frozen in isotopes, encoded in the geometry of crystals. Rocks are not silent. They whisper. They remember in ways that living things cannot. While life writes its story in fragile DNA, the Earth records its own in pressure, heat, and time. The story of Earth's hidden memory begins with the oldest material ever found on its surface, zircon crystals. Some are over 4.3 billion years old, older than any rock, older than any ocean, older even than the moon's familiar face. These tiny gemstones, no larger than a grain of sand, survived the destruction of the crust that birthed them. Inside them lie minute impurities, traces of oxygen, silicon, and radioactive isotopes that act like the planet's black box, storing the chemistry of a world that no longer exists. Through them, scientists have glimpsed a portrait of early Earth. Oceans condensing from vapor, temperatures cooling, continents beginning to form. Each crystal is a survivor from an age that the planet itself forgot. The rocks that once held them are gone, subducted, melted, transformed. But the zircons endured, carrying within them the memory of an ancient ocean that vanished before life began. But zircons are not the only witnesses. Magnetic minerals, trapped in ancient basalt, record the orientation of Earth's magnetic field when they formed. By studying them, geologists can reconstruct how continents moved across the globe, how poles wandered, and how entire landmasses disappeared. Even when the continents are lost, their magnetic ghosts remain, imprinted in the stones like the residue of an old dream. Then there are the isotopes, the elemental fingerprints that tell us what the planet was feeling long before we were here to notice. Ratios of carbon, oxygen, and sulfur shift with every major event, volcanic outbursts, meteor impacts, or mass extinctions. They are the chemical handwriting of Cataclysm. From these invisible patterns, scientists can read the pulse of a dying world and the slow breath of its recovery. And yet, for all its memory, the Earth's recollection is imperfect. Its archives are scattered, fragmented, rewritten by the same processes that preserve them. Every rock is a partial truth, every crystal a biased witness. To piece together the past is to interrogate survivors who contradict one another, who speak in the dialect of pressure and decay. Still, those contradictions hold meaning. They tell us that memory, even planetary memory, is a living thing, mutable, shifting, uncertain. Sometimes the planet remembers through repetition. Patterns in the rock cycle echo across billions of years, the same rise and fall of mountains, the same rhythms of eruption and erosion. It's as if Earth replays its favorite memories, testing variations of them through time. The Himalayas, the Andes, the long-vanished supercontinent cycles, they are all reincarnations of the same process. The Earth remembers not by preservation, but by reenactment. But there are deeper memories still, memories that lie beyond geology, embedded in the planet's physical structure. Seismic waves, passing through the Earth's interior, reveal strange anomalies at the boundary between the mantle and the core. Dense, amorphous regions larger than continents, where sound slows and heat gathers. Some scientists believe these are the buried remnants of ancient worlds, subducted continents or crystallized magma oceans from Earth's primordial past. In a sense, the planet is haunted by the ghosts of its earlier selves. This realization changes how we see the world around us. The ground is not inert, it's conscious in its own way, an archive of memory so vast and slow that we can barely perceive its language. When you walk across a plain, a mountain, or a stretch of desert, you are walking across forgotten ages, the remains of seas that no longer exist, the dust of mountains that once scraped the sky. And though the Earth remembers in silence, that silence is not emptiness. It is the sound of transformation. The act of remembering and erasing are one and the same. Every eruption that destroys a landscape also preserves its chemistry. Every impact that shatters the crust creates minerals that tell its story. The planet's memory is paradoxical. It survives only through destruction. Perhaps that is why we too are drawn to uncover the past. Our need to understand history, to preserve what time erases, may be an echo of the planet's own nature. We are made of its matter, shaped by its cycles, and driven by the same instinct to remember, even as we are remade. In the end, every rock is a record of survival. It doesn't just tell us what happened, it reminds us that something always endures. The Earth forgets its surface, but never its essence. Rebirth, when the world begins again. Every destruction carries within it a seed. The Earth does not die, it transforms. Each time the planet has burned, frozen, or drowned, something new has emerged from the ashes. Rebirth is not an exception in Earth's history, it is the rule. The planet's genius is its ability to start again, to use chaos as the foundation for creation. After every cataclysm, the world awakens to a different rhythm. When the Permian extinction erased nearly all life, it didn't end the story, it cleared the canvas. From that silence rose the first dinosaurs, new forests, and new ecosystems that would dominate the planet for over 150 million years. When the asteroid struck at the end of the Cretaceous, it didn't destroy the world. It handed it to us. Mammals, once small and hidden, inherited the open spaces, evolving into forms that would eventually walk upright and look to the stars. This cycle of death and renewal is older than life itself. Even before biology, the planet practiced rebirth through physics and chemistry. When magma oceans cooled and hardened into crust, they cracked and melted again, forming new surfaces. When the first oceans evaporated into steam, they rained back as new seas. Each age of the planet carries echoes of the last, but never copies it. The Earth's art is variation. It never repeats the same form twice. Rebirth is not just survival. It's transformation through loss. Life's greatest innovations often arise in the wake of disaster. The explosion of animal diversity in the Cambrian period came after a global freeze. The rise of oxygen followed the death of microbial worlds that couldn't live with it. Every revolution in life's history began as a catastrophe. It's as though evolution itself depends on destruction to break the patterns that have gone stale. Even the planet's surface participates in this renewal. Mountains rise from the crushed bones of older continents. Volcanic islands form from drowned seafloors. Coral reefs grow on the skeletons of ancient ones. The landscapes we call eternal are, in truth, memorials of past worlds. Creation on Earth is always an act of remembrance, and perhaps the same is true for us. Humanity, too, is born from the cycle of forgetting and renewal. Civilizations fall, knowledge burns, empires collapse, and yet something always survives. A fragment, an idea, a story. Each rebirth begins with someone willing to remember what was lost and rebuild it differently. We are, in a sense, the planet continuing its own process of reinvention through thought and culture. If we step back far enough, we begin to see the pattern. Destruction is not the opposite of creation. It is its companion. The same volcanic heat that erases continents also fuels the carbon cycle that sustains life. The same asteroid that extinguished species also fertilized the oceans with minerals, triggering new growth. The same tectonic forces that tear apart the crust build the mountains that shape weather and water. Nothing in nature is wasted. This is the paradox of the Earth's resilience. It cannot be destroyed because it accepts destruction as part of its design. It endures by changing, surviving by surrendering. Its history is not a single line, but a spiral, each loop returning higher, more complex, more aware. If extinction is the planet's winter, then evolution is its spring. Perhaps that is why the Earth's forgotten ages matter so deeply. They remind us that loss is never final. What disappears today becomes the raw material of tomorrow. The buried carbon of ancient forests becomes fuel for new civilizations. The remains of dead stars become the building blocks of life. Even the dust we inhale carries atoms forged in past worlds. Every end is a beginning disguised. The planet has proven that for 4 billion years. When we gaze at a barren desert, we are seeing the waiting place of the next forest. When we look into an extinct crater, we are witnessing the seedbed of the next sea. Rebirth is not an act of mercy, it is a law. The Earth does not forgive, but it renews. It demands that everything, even itself, must fall apart before it can evolve. That is its secret. The planet's perfection lies not in its stability, but in its willingness to change beyond recognition, again and again. So when the next great cataclysm comes, and it will not be the end of the world. It will be the end of this version of the world. And in the ashes of that transformation, something new will rise, as it always has. The strangers within, the hidden architects of change. Every transformation has an architect, but not all architects are visible. Deep within the Earth, invisible agents are constantly reshaping the planet. Forces so subtle, so patient, that their existence can only be inferred through the consequences they leave behind. These are the strangers within, the hidden systems that maintain the balance between destruction and renewal. The unseen engineers of Earth's eternal evolution. At the center of this silent machinery lies the core, a sphere of iron and nickel nearly as hot as the surface of the sun. Its slow, molten motion generates the magnetic field that shields the planet from cosmic radiation and solar winds. Without it, the atmosphere would have been stripped away eons ago, and Earth would now resemble Mars, cold, dry, and lifeless. This field is not static. It flips, wanes, and grows stronger, creating cycles of stability and vulnerability. It is the heartbeat of the planet, steady, vital, and, at times, erratic. Surrounding that core is the mantle, a vast sea of rock in constant motion. It is the planet's subconscious, shaping continents without awareness, driving the slow drift of plates, feeding volcanoes that both create and destroy. Through this layer rise mantle plumes, columns of heat that pierce the crust, birthing islands, mountain ranges, and even global catastrophes. These plumes may be remnants of primordial heat, the echo of Earth's fiery youth still working its way to the surface. But what if these forces are not random? What if they follow a rhythm so vast that human time cannot measure it? Some geophysicists believe that superplumes, massive upwellings of heat from near the core, emerge in cycles roughly every 500 million years, reshaping the surface through fire and flood basalts. Their rise coincides eerily with mass extinctions and the breakup of supercontinents. It is as though the Earth itself breathes through destruction, releasing energy accumulated in its depths to start the world anew. And then there is water, the planet's quietest yet most transformative stranger. Locked deep within minerals of the mantle, scientists have discovered vast reservoirs of water, 3 times the volume of all surface oceans combined. This hidden ocean is not liquid, but bound at the molecular level, altering the way rock melts and moves. Without it, plate tectonics might never have begun. It is this buried water that gives the crust its flexibility, allowing continents to drift and mountains to form. The very mechanism that erases Earth's history may have been born from this invisible ocean. Another architect resides in the biosphere itself. Life doesn't just adapt to the planet, it rewrites it. Microbes have altered the composition of the atmosphere, changed the chemistry of the oceans, and even influenced the weathering of rocks. The Great Oxygenation Event, triggered by ancient cyanobacteria, nearly sterilized the planet yet paved the way for all complex life. Life is not a passenger in the Earth's evolution. It is a co-creator, an active participant in shaping its fate. This idea, that the planet and life form a single, self-regulating system, is known as the Gaia hypothesis. It suggests that Earth behaves like a living organism, maintaining conditions favorable for life through a complex web of feedback loops. Volcanic gases feed the atmosphere. Plants regulate carbon. Oceans control temperature. Even extinction itself may serve as a corrective force, resetting ecosystems before they collapse entirely. The strangers within are not villains or heroes. They are the pulse of transformation. Sometimes they act violently, as in earthquakes or eruptions. Sometimes quietly, as in the slow movement of continents or the chemical weathering of stone. But always they work toward one purpose: equilibrium through change. And perhaps there are even deeper architects still unknown. Unseen particles from the sun and beyond, the constant rain of cosmic radiation, interact with the atmosphere, influencing cloud formation and climate in ways science is only beginning to grasp. The planet is not isolated. It is part of a larger network, a cosmic ecosystem that extends far beyond the boundaries of its atmosphere. When we speak of cataclysms that left no trace, we often look outward, to asteroids, to solar flares, to cosmic accidents. But maybe the greatest cataclysms come from within. The planet carries its own destruction in its heart, its own rebirth in its mantle, its own resilience in its oceans and air. It is both the creator and the destroyer of itself. We are only beginning to recognize the depth of this intelligence, the way the Earth organizes chaos into balance. It doesn't need direction. It doesn't need memory. It simply is. And in its silent architecture, we find the closest thing to immortality, a world that never stops rebuilding itself. Echoes of the forgotten, when the planet speaks through us. Every story the Earth has lived still exists, just not where we expect to find it. The planet may have erased its continents, melted its oceans, and rewritten its crust, but its memories have never truly vanished. They persist in a different form, within us. Humanity is not separate from the Earth's story. We are its latest expression, its newest language. When we speak, build, dream, and destroy, it is the planet remembering itself through conscious thought. Every atom in the human body has been part of another world before ours. The calcium in our bones was once inside the shell of a prehistoric ocean creature. The iron in our blood was forged in a dying star long before the Earth existed. Even the oxygen we breathe is the product of ancient bacterial alchemy. To live is to be made of memory, to carry within us the evidence of all that came before. We are the planet's archaeology, given form and mind. Our bones echo the minerals beneath our feet. Our veins mirror the flow of rivers. Our lungs breathe in rhythm with the forests that surround us. In ways both literal and symbolic, we are made of the same matter that the Earth has spent billions of years recycling. Every heartbeat, every thought, every dream is a continuation of the same processes that once shaped mountains and oceans. Consciousness is not separate from nature, it is nature becoming aware of itself. But awareness comes at a price. The Earth forgets through motion. We remember through stillness. Unlike the shifting crust, human memory resists erosion. We write, carve, and record, trying to preserve what the planet would otherwise erase. In doing so, we have become the first species to interrupt the cycle, to create a parallel archive that endures beyond the natural rhythm of renewal. The irony is that our digital memories, our monuments, and our cities are made of the same minerals that the Earth will one day reclaim. And yet, perhaps that is the point. Our remembering is temporary, but meaningful. We are the voice the planet uses to tell its own story before it turns the page again. Every discovery we make, every fossil we unearth, every element we measure, is the Earth revealing another layer of itself through our curiosity. The act of understanding geology, of tracing the history of the rocks, is not just science, it is communion. Even our myths echo this truth. Across cultures and eras, humanity has told stories of floods, fires, and rebirths, tales of worlds that ended and began again. The same pattern repeats across religions and legends, cycles of creation and destruction, death and renewal. Perhaps these are not mere inventions of the human mind, but inherited memories of the planet itself. Maybe the Earth speaks through us in symbols, dreams, and fears, guiding our imagination with echoes of its own cycles. There's a reason ancient civilizations worshipped mountains, rivers, and storms. They sensed what modern science is only now rediscovering, that the planet is alive in ways we can't fully comprehend. Every earthquake, every tide, every shift in the wind is part of a dialogue older than language. We are participants in that conversation, not observers. But in our age, the echo has grown faint. Humanity has learned to separate itself from the planet that created it. We live as though we are guests, not offspring. Yet the truth remains. Every step we take vibrates through the crust. Every action we perform ripples through ecosystems that will long outlast us. The Earth listens, and it responds. Whether in drought or storm, in silence or renewal, it answers in the only language it knows, balance through transformation. When we burn forests, the air remembers. When we dig into the mantle for fuel, the planet adjusts its breath. When we push against its cycles, it recalibrates, just as it always has. The Earth does not punish, it restores. Its feedback is neither moral nor malicious. It is mechanical, inevitable, and ancient. We are not separate from these processes. We are part of them. To understand this is to recognize that humanity is not the end of the story. It is a continuation of the same force that forged life in the shadows of volcanoes and the depths of oceans. Consciousness is simply the planet's new way of thinking. Through us, it has gained a memory that looks forward as well as back. Perhaps that is what the universe intended all along, that after billions of years of silence, the Earth would finally learn to speak, and that voice would be ours. The planet that still dreams. Even now, beneath the noise of civilization, the planet dreams. Its surface may tremble with our movement, but its core continues its ancient rhythm, pulsing heat into the darkness, shaping what will come next. The continents drift as they always have, carried by invisible tides of molten stone. The magnetic field hums, protecting the fragile world that clings to it. The cycles of creation and destruction persist, unbroken, indifferent to our awareness. Yet somewhere within those endless motions, something extraordinary has happened. The Earth has become self-aware. Through the rise of thought, the planet now knows itself. When we study its past, we are the Earth remembering its own history. When we gaze into space, wondering how it all began, the planet is dreaming beyond its boundaries. Human consciousness is not an anomaly. It is the continuation of the same process that carved rivers and raised mountains. The universe has found a way to look back at itself through us. If you could listen to the Earth's dream, it would not sound like words or music. It would sound like balance, the slow circulation of magma, the steady exchange of gases between ocean and sky, the migration of seasons, the rhythm of tides, the heartbeat of ecosystems rising and falling in perfect silent symmetry. This is the planet's song, a composition of stability through change. It has played since the first dawn and will continue long after the last. But like every dream, this one is fragile. In just a few centuries, humanity has altered systems that took billions of years to evolve. The atmosphere thickens, the oceans warm, the forests thin. These are not acts of rebellion, but of forgetfulness. For the first time, the planet's dream is being rewritten by its own creation. The balance it maintained through fire and ice, through extinction and rebirth, now teeters at the edge of uncertainty. Still, there is hope in that uncertainty. Because if we are the Earth's awareness, then we also hold its potential to change. The same intelligence that threatens the balance can restore it. The same imagination that splits atoms and moves mountains can rebuild what was broken. For all its indifference, the planet has given us a choice to awaken within its dream or to sleep through its end. Even in its silence, the Earth remains generous. It continues to create beauty, to let rivers carve new paths, to let stars reflect in the eyes of its creatures, to let life endure in every corner untouched by our hands. It offers renewal at every scale, from the regrowth of a single forest to the rebirth of ecosystems we thought were lost. If the planet has taught us anything, it is that endings are never absolute. They are beginnings we have yet to recognize. Perhaps the Earth dreams because it must. Without imagination, there is no renewal, no spark to guide the next transformation. Every glacier that melts, every volcano that cools, every seed that bursts from the soil is part of that imagination. It's as if the planet itself is trying to remember what it once was, and through us to decide what it might become. And so, when we look at the horizon, we are not just witnessing landscape. We are witnessing memory, motion, and possibility. We are part of the dream's continuation. The same dream that began in magma and starlight, that survived cataclysm and silence, now speaks through our curiosity, our art, our wonder. Finally, as this chapter closes, one truth endures. The Earth has died many times, and yet it still dreams. It dreams through the movement of oceans, the breath of forests, the gaze of those who try to understand it. And as long as someone somewhere looks up at the sky and wonders how it all began, the planet will never stop imagining its next beginning. Eternal Earth, the meaning of survival. The story of Earth is not a story of permanence. It is a story of endurance. Everything on this planet, from the smallest grain of sand to the largest mountain range, is temporary. Yet somehow, across billions of years, the Earth remains. It endures not because it resists change, but because it embraces it. Survival for this planet has never meant stillness. It has always meant transformation. Every scar has been reshaped into a new form. Every extinction has become an opportunity for creation. Even destruction itself has served a higher order, the balance that allows life to return, stronger and stranger than before. The Earth's history is proof that resilience does not come from preservation. It comes from the ability to let go of what once was and allow something unimaginable to take its place. To survive, the Earth forgets. To live, it destroys. To create, it must first begin again. That is the paradox of existence that echoes through every era of this planet's past. It is the secret encoded in its layers of stone, in its magnetic fields, in the quiet pulse of its molten core. The planet is not just a world. It is an idea, an evolving consciousness expressed through geology and biology, chaos and order. And perhaps that is what survival truly means, to adapt beyond recognition. Every catastrophe that has ever struck this planet, asteroids, ice ages, volcanic winters, was not an ending, but an initiation. Each time the planet redefined what it meant to exist. Each time, life learned to speak a new language of resilience. In this way, the Earth's story is not about avoiding death, but about using it as a tool for rebirth. We often speak of the planet as fragile, but fragility implies weakness, and Earth has never been weak. It has cracked and burned, frozen and drowned, but always it has returned. Its strength lies not in its hardness, but in its fluidity, in the way it bends without breaking, erases without vanishing, forgets without losing its purpose. And now, for the first time, the Earth's survival is tied to its own creation, to us. Humanity, the consciousness born from its matter, stands at a turning point. We are both the planet's greatest risk and its greatest experiment. The forces that shaped it, fire, ice, gravity, time, now flow through our hands in the form of energy, technology, and thought. The same curiosity that built civilizations can now decide whether the dream continues or fades. But if there is one lesson written in the memory of stone, it is this: the Earth will not end with us. If we vanish, the planet will wait. It will heal, reshape, and begin again, just as it always has. Life will return, though it may not resemble anything we know. Time will continue to carve new stories from the same eternal matter. The universe allows no true endings, only transitions. Still, the question remains, what does it mean to survive when survival is guaranteed by transformation? Perhaps it means more than endurance. Perhaps it means understanding our place in the cycle, not as masters of the planet, but as a moment in its unfolding consciousness. We are here to witness, to reflect, to remember. We are the voice through which the Earth tells its own story. If the universe is eternal, then so is the idea of Earth. It will exist in one form or another, a planet, a memory, a spark of energy drifting through the cosmos, waiting to coalesce again. The meaning of survival, then, is not to remain unchanged, but to continue becoming. Finally, as the Earth continues to turn beneath the stars, it reminds us of a truth too vast for words. Nothing is ever truly lost. Every end is the beginning of something greater. The oceans that evaporate will rain again. The mountains that crumble will rise in new forms. Even the silence after humanity will one day fill with the sound of something new being born. The Earth is eternal, not because it endures without change, but because it never stops changing. That is the meaning of survival. That is the legacy of a planet that refuses to die. Stay until the end. Subscribe, and share this story with those who still wonder what it means to live on a world that remembers through transformation. Because as long as someone listens, the Earth's dream will never fade, and its story will never truly end.